Extra Time on Tip FM, powered by Munster Solar, your local solar experts, delivering clean, cost-effective energy solutions for a brighter tomorrow. See munstersolar.ie.
Hello, good evening and welcome to another edition of Extra Time. My name is Ronan Quirk. We're here until 8 o'clock this evening. Lots to talk about tonight. We'd love to hear from you. Our text number is 083 311 3311. That also works for WhatsApp messages as well. We're on Blue Sky. If you want to contact us there, it's extratime@bsky.social. And that text number and WhatsApp messages number again is 083 311 3311. We are also looking for nominations for the May winner of the Tip FM Sports Award. So sportstar@tipfm.com is the email to use if you want to nominate somebody for the May winner of the Tip FM Sports Star of the Month Award. Sportstar@tipfm.com. And maybe something we talk about tonight is going to spark your interest, and maybe you might stimulate a nomination to come in. That's in association with the Talbot Hotel Clonmel and Cork Trophies Limited in Clare. Sportstar@tipfm.com. But I'm going to start this evening with good evening and well done to Niall Fitzgerald, Tipperary Senior Football Manager. How are you, Niall?
Hi Ron, how are you?
I'm good. Well done, congratulations. And I'm sure you were a relieved man getting back on the coach to make the long trip home when you left Markievicz Park yesterday.
Yeah, it definitely made the trip down a bit easier. Yeah, look, we're very, very happy with the win. Probably a bit closer than it should have been towards the end. You know, we felt the performance maybe merited a bit better scoreline, but you know, look, credit to Sligo. You know, they kept chipping away at the end. You know, and put us under a bit of pressure. But happy to get out of there.
You also probably at half time had mixed feelings. Happy with the way your team had performed in the first half, but somewhat rueful to give away that late goal towards the end of the first half, which did, I think, paint an unrepresentative picture of what the margin between the teams should have been. Yeah,
look, it was strange. Right before the goal, we had a chance to go 8 points up and didn't take it, and they came straight down the field. I think we'd actually, from that kick out, we'd won the kick out and then just got dispossessed over on the sideline, and the goal came from that. And you know, it was a real sucker punch because it was a strong wind, you know, and we felt, I suppose, at half time 4 points. It didn't feel enough, you know. We knew how hard it was going to be. But credit to the lads. I thought the second half performance was, you know, very mature. We starved Sligo of possession for long periods, and you know, limited their opportunities to hurt us, which you know, it definitely played a big part in getting over the line.
How important was the 50 minutes against Cork, where again I think Tip were really, really competitive for the first 50 minutes against Cork, who are, it should be noted, a Division 1 side going into Division 1 next season. How heartening was that, and do you think that the seeds of the win against Sligo were sown perhaps in that opening 50 minutes against Cork?
Yeah, I suppose it definitely helped in terms of, you know, strengthening the group's belief in their ability to compete, you know, at that level. But you know, by the same token, it was an eye opener in terms of the levels that you need to get at to sustain that for a long enough period, you know. So, you know, it definitely gave confidence, but again, you know, it also set a target, like, and you know, especially, you know, for the younger players, it was an eye opener at times.
Is a lack of belief that you can compete at a high level a consequence of playing Division 4 football for a number of years, and therefore is the solution to that just simply to get out of Division 4?
Yeah, look, I suppose, you know, all sports, it's a results based, you know, and maybe when, you know, you've been at the lower end of it, for a few years, it can be hard to kind of build up that confidence again. I think probably, if anything, the younger players have maybe, they're maybe not affected as much because they're used to they've done fairly well underage, and they have a confidence. But it was just I suppose, like, even when they're lining up against these lads, you can visibly see the physical difference, like, and that I have no doubt could get inside their heads a bit. But, like, I mean, look, I think you saw against Cork, and you definitely saw against Sligo. The young players were to the fore.
John Higgins, Charlie King, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Are you a fan of the new format of the Tailteann Cup?
I'll tell you after.
Okay, all right, I'll ask you.
Look, at the end of the day, I suppose the idea of it would be that there'd be no dead rubber games in the groups, and I can completely understand where they're coming from. So every game matters, and there's something to play for in every game, and that's the closest you can get to knockout championship, which was always, I suppose the one that got the real interest peaked for people, and it's I can understand where they were coming from, and at the end of the day, every team is guaranteed 2 championship games in the Tailteann Cup. We're lucky enough after winning yesterday. We're lucky enough that we'll be guaranteed 2 more championship games, which is great.
Your reaction to the Antrim draw? I mean, they scored 6-something. I don't know what they scored against Carlow and only won by 3 points. But I suppose the away nature of that perhaps disappoints you. But again, you're there. It's the next hurdle to be jumped.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, we had a good win in the league, albeit in very, very different conditions, and we were the home team. Antrim, to their credit, after a poor start to the league, they finished the league very, very strongly, and going down and beating Carlow, was a big scout for them. So we're under no illusions. It's a really tough ask to go up there and get the win, but it's also a great opportunity, So we'll be looking forward to it. Maybe not looking forward to the trip as much, but
I know,
we're definitely looking forward to the game.
Yeah, it's a game. Obviously, there's some jeopardy, but there is a backdoor in the event that it doesn't go your way. Just lastly, you mentioned the word mature in your analysis of the performance. When I was asking about the Cork game and how and then also the maturity that was shown against Sligo. You've been working on, I presume, on that to try and give the lads confidence, and the maturity of the performance comes as a consequence of having more confidence in themselves and their abilities. That as a manager is about as much as you can hope for when you're sending your charges out in the field.
Yeah, look, I can't ask any more of the group. The management team, we've been so impressed with how they've applied themselves. We've been so impressed with the character they've shown, So we can't ask any more. And again, look, it's our first year in there. It's a lot of the players' first year playing senior inter-counties. So, we're really happy with how they're adapting and how they're trying to implement, the plan that we've set out, and again, sometimes it's working really well, and sometimes, when pressure comes on, we can deviate from the plan slightly, but I feel that they're getting way more consistent in how they implement what we're trying to do, and I felt yesterday, really showed that they've they've taken positive steps forward.
Yeah, well, I completely agree with you. And just finally, last thing to say, I must commend quite a significant number of people who made the journey up to Sligo to support your team. They're not just family members of the players. I mean, the Tipperary family is small, as you well know, Niall, but my God, they're committed.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, that's not an easy journey up there. And,
no,
and you know it's
4
really
hours from South Tip.
Yeah. It really. I tell you when we got a couple of scores there at the end, or maybe got some big tackles in, you could hear the Tip crowd come to life, and it definitely meant a lot to the players. I know that, and they appreciate people making that effort. But it was heartening to see it. Yeah,
listen, many congratulations, Niall, to you, your team, and most importantly, your players. We wish you well against Antrim, and we'll chat again soon. Thanks, pal.
It's great.
Thanks a lot. Take it easy, Niall. Thanks. Niall Fitz, the Tip senior football manager after that win against Sligo, on commentary duty for us, and one of those who made the trip up to Yates County, as they like to call it, is Anthony Shelley. How are you, Anthony?
How are you, Ronan?
I'm well. I'm sure you're well too. Put in perspective that win for us, because our last two games against Sligo in the championship were resulted in, I think, 16 and 5 point defeats respectively.
Yeah, it was a huge win. Now, it probably would be unfair to compare it to previous years. Like, I mean, lost by 5 points last year, but Sligo only had 3 of that team playing yesterday. So, Sligo are in transition, which is why I was kind of on with Paul there on Friday night, and it was giving us a serious chance, because they're rebuilding. We're 2 years into our rebuilding program, and it was all very positive yesterday. I thought at times during the game yesterday we were really, really impressive. It was actually a joy to watch. We were getting the ball, moving it fast. We could go through the hands. We could go long. It was really impressive. But I think to compare it to other years would be kind of slightly unfair.
Okay, no, I take that point. We have, myself and yourself have kind of commented about our inside forward line quite a bit, but tonight I'd like to perhaps reference the performance of Joe Higgins and Charlie King, young fellas as well, who and Joe in particular is certainly growing into that midfield mould. I think in the Irish Examiner today he was described as standout midfielder Joe Higgins. Fair comment?
Oh, absolutely fair comment. And the amount of ball he caught in the air against Cork in a couple of weeks ago in Thurles was unreal. I remember talking to Shane Ryan after the game, and Shane described it must have been a world record for high fielding, and he did the same against yesterday, and he was aided and abetted well yesterday in the air by Paddy Feehan, who was also outstanding. But I think I've seen a comment online today that Joe didn't get on the team of the week. Well, there must have been outstanding midfielders around the country yesterday if Joe didn't make it. But you mentioned Charlie King. I think what a player he is. He just reminds me of a young Bill Maher. He gets the ball, and he drove at Sligo defence all day. And
he's full of energy. He just
absolutely, and he's a very intelligent player as well. Now he picked up a bad knock right at the end. I seen him coming out of the match. His head was heavily bandaged, but hopefully it's he'll be okay. But he was outstanding. I thought it was his best game in a Tip jersey, and he did make the team of the week, and deservedly so. He was brilliant.
I mean, this is a really good performance. Stephen O'Brien only got a minute or two at the end. Any word on him? I should have probably asked Niall this in terms of a return to fitness, because poor old Stephen's perhaps coming towards the end of the twilight of his career, and he's getting precious little game time.
Yeah, he's been so unfortunate all his career with injury. But still, I think fairly certain, because I had looked it up during the week. Yesterday was his 88th appearance in a Tipperary jersey. Imagine what it would be if he hadn't been injury plagued, and I think he was with the Hurlers for 2 years, around 15 and 16 as well. So what a servant he had been. He was only on the pitch for 2 or 3 minutes. I'd say maybe a little bit longer, 5 minutes. But when we were under pressure in that frantic finish. One big high ball came in when they dropped into our box, and it could have been anywhere, and who was there to grab it out of the air? Only Stephen O'Brien with a vital interception. So what a player he's been for a long, long time now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's he'll go down as one of the greats of Tipperary football. There's no two ways about it. Like, he was started his career as a minor All-Ireland winner in 11, and then went on, won a Munster, played in under 21 All-Ireland final. I mean, it's when you think about the things he's chalked off, he's highlight reel, it's pretty impressive stuff. I do want to ask you about the Antrim game, because like Luke Boland came back as well yesterday, got some game time into him. You might see a bit more Stephen, Paddy Creedon. These are good players to be taken off the bench to complement the sort of the emerging players that we're seeing in the likes of King, Hogan, Smith, Higgins, Freeney.
Yeah, Freeney, and let's not forget the main man up front, Sean O'Connor, put in another brilliant performance.
Yeah, and like Sean is nearly a veteran of the team, and he's only still in his mid-20s. I'd forgotten he was.
I think,
yeah, and I'd forgotten he was part of the Munster winning team in COVID 2021.
2020.
2020, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, he like Sean has been there for so long, and it seems like he is a veteran, but still only 25. But I think this year he's taken his game to another level. Yesterday he was marked by every time he got the ball, 3 or 4 players around him, and he tried to do something positive every single time, and kicked a couple of, you might have seen it on the telly last night, a couple of wonder 2 points, 2 pointers.
And they look very easy to him. I mean, he doesn't try to kick the leather off the ball when he's kicking his 2 pointers, which I think is a great skill. He's far more likely to be accurate with them if he's not trying to kick them.
He took a free from the 65-metre line yesterday. Now, I know it was a wind, but I mean, a 65-metre kick out of your hands in football, and it only barely went wide. Like, it had the distance, it hit the net behind the goal, but it was only a couple of feet wide. So, like, yeah, he has a fair boot in him, in fairness, and but he's an intelligent player. He's a threat, and this year in particular, because every team is marking him down, like Mark Sean O'Connor, and yet, like their cornerback was assigned man marking duties yesterday for him, and he never left his side, and anytime he got it, he was joined by 2 or 3 other Sligo players, and Sean Cope definitely with it. He was just outstanding.
Your thoughts on the Antrim game? Niall referenced the league win we had over them. I think that was in Clonmel, or was it? It was in Thurles.
No, that was in the home of football in Moneygall.
Moneygall, you're right. You're right. I've forgotten that. Yes, in different conditions, etc. But I would be reasonably confident heading up to Antrim.
I think it's a hard enough draw myself, Ron, and not to contradict you there, but Antrim have really got their act together since that. They lost to they lost to Longford the week after the Moneygall game, and since then they won their last 4 games in the league, finished ahead of us in the league. Right, they took a bit of a hammering against Derry, but sure, look, Derry are a different level to ourselves in Antrim. Like, they were unlucky not to be in an Ulster final after that mayhem of a game against Monaghan, and going up there, I don't think it'll be in Corrigan Park, which everybody's expecting it to be, because the Antrim hurlers are out that weekend in Corrigan Park, and Antrim haven't played in Corrigan Park. They're a home game in Corrigan Park this year, so we could even have another half an hour out to Toom or someplace like that. You might have another half an hour to go when you get to Belfast. So it's going to be a long trip for the Tip supporters. But I think it's a free shot. I think it's a difficult assignment, but not an impossible one.
Okay, well, look, we'll look forward to hearing you live from somewhere outside Belfast.
They're all taking us to Moneygall. They're Moneygall, or I was taking them to Moneygall. I'd say they're looking for the furthest away venue to pay us back for that.
Indeed, yeah, no two ways. Although Moneygall, we had home advantage. Moneygall was the closest we could get to Antrim. Let's be blunt about it,
I suppose that was, but
unless we moved into anyway. Look,
Money Golf fielded that game when nobody
else could or would. Yeah, dead right. Fair play to
Money Golf,
100%.
Yeah.
We'll let you go, and thanks for your efforts, Anthony. Talk soon.
No problem.
Oh, by the way, before I let you go, Anthony, who's going to win the PGA? I know you love telling people these. Who's going to win the PGA? It's a difficult course.
Difficult course, narrow fairways, big greens.
Lots of bunkers.
178 bunkers, I believe.
Yeah.
And so, look, you can never really look outside. When I'm doing my fantasy team this week, obviously Scotty and Rory will be in, but I'll have to pick 3 more. So, on my sleeper picks, I wouldn't rule out Shane Lowry and Russell Henley as well.
Thank you for that. We'll talk to you next week and see how you got on. Thanks for your time.
Okay, right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks indeed. Anthony Shelley, who also dovetails as a golf analyst on this show. 083 311 3311. Great results and performance by Tip. Yes, footballers yesterday. Pitch and facilities in Sligo were top class, says this texter, and in fairness, fair play to you, texter, for going. It'd be interesting to see how that's a hurling question which I'll come to in due course, but let's go to hurling now. And Ken Hogan's on the line. How are you, Ken?
Hi Ronan, how are you keeping?
I'm very well. What a week ahead of us. Wednesday, the Munster under-20 hurling final. Friday, the Munster minor hurling final. Saturday, a do-or-die clash against Clare. God almighty, it's like Christmas. They're all coming together like.
That's for sure, and hopefully there will be presents at the end of the week. That's the most important thing, I suppose, that we get a few bonus points along the way.
Can I ask you, the big question, and it's coming in on text already, is the issue that faces Brendan, and you would have probably faced it a lot in 2010 when you were the under-21 manager. You've got Oisín and Stefan who are involved in Liam Call's plans, presumably for Saturday evening in Thurles. How does Brendan play that, and it's going to be ultimately a call for Liam, I'd imagine, but Liam was an under-20 and a minor manager himself, so he understands the pressure on Brendan to get a win as well. So it's a difficult call. You'd love the players to play both, but you're asking a lot of them then as well.
Yeah, I suppose it's a little bit different in the fact that obviously there's an awful lot of stake. There's under-20 final, first of all. Oisín is captain, Stefan is obviously involved as well. A number of the players also from the 20s have been involved in the training panel. I think the important thing to remember is that Liam has experience of minor and under-20 and under-21 final victories, so he's a unique record in that regard. I think the lads would have a very good relationship, obviously former teammates. I think there's been great cooperation there between the 20s and the seniors. I think definitely the lads will come to an agreement. Obviously Oisín being captain is a bigger incentive again. You know, it's a huge honour for him. To play games like that, you know, that's what you dream of playing in, Ronan. That's what you grew up thinking of, playing on minor and under-20 finals and playing senior for Tipperary. So I think they will come to an agreement. I think the management teams are very smart. They have very professional people with them. So the recovery is easier now as well compared to years ago, Ronan. The fact, obviously, you can go to oxygen chambers, ice
ice
therapy,
baths, you name it,
cryotherapy, things like that. So I think for a young fella like Oisín or Stefan or any of the lads, I think they'll recover pretty quickly once they're injury free. They will recover because everyone wants to play in the bigger games, and it's just like any shootout. You know, you remember the Fitzgibbon days as well, and the Sigerson days when they played a full weekend. You know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So
that, we were here before. Different. We were here before last year. You know, Sam was captain last year. I think he brought him on with 20 minutes to go. Solved a problem for us in the half back line, if memory serves, that day. But Dara was there, Oisín was there as well last year. So, you know, it's not like we're in new territory, and I would imagine that, you know, everyone will try and do their best, but at the end of the day, you know, there's lots to be asked of these fellas. Let's look at the game itself, because we're playing Clare in the under-20 final, and I don't have to remind listeners what happened when we played Clare in the round robin. We were 6 points up with time almost up, and we lost by 1. I would imagine that reel might well be played back to the players to sort of remind them how they let that one slip the last time.
without a shadow of a doubt, it was a real learning curve for a young team, and Brendan immediately brought the guys in and spoke to them, and I'm sure explained that's sport and that's what can happen in major games. Thankfully it didn't happen in a knockout game, Roland. That's the big bonus. And now, Tipper smarting to get back at this Clare team. Clare, after being beaten to get to an automatic Munster final spot by Cork, went back down a week later, and had a super display.
I thought they did very well when Cork applied some pressure midway through the second half. Clare responded very well in that semi-final.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. People were talking about PSG, and I think it was Bayern Munich playing, and everyone was talking about that game. But in actual fact, everybody switched over to TG4 because that was a game, for the ages. An absolutely outstanding game. Clare have a few guys back, that have, young, obviously. Hegarty is back at centre back. Harry Doherty, former St. Francis player, that has to be very familiar with him. Back. Marco Cleary played and got a couple of goals. He played Aero Guinness against Loughmore Castellani. So they've had a few injuries, but they have a few players back. I did fancy him to beat Cork on the second day. I felt the two best teams in the competition are now in the final, Ronan. So this is one to whet the appetite. This is going to be a huge game, and both teams have history, playing at minor level as well. And at least have been forewarned now. I think, that they know this is going to be a really tough test.
Yeah, I mean, some fellas have really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really entered the fray, entered our consciousness. Like Cormac Fitzpatrick would be well known. He was a really good player with Drum last year. Charlie Ryan, is it? I thought had a really great game.
Charlie, from Borlahan.
Yeah, really great game the last day when he came in. Young Ormond, I think, is playing really, really well as well. You've Oisin and Stefan if they start. There's a lot of really talented players, and Ewan Murray. I don't even know where his best position is, but I think he's a player who possibly can play anywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of versatile players there. Like you see the seniors level now as well. All these guys were able to play, but I mean, Oisin could, in actual fact, play in the half-back line. Such is his versatility, and I think, Brendan and the lads and Fenton, they will be putting their best group of players together for the best system to play this game. This is going to be a game of cat and mouse because Clare have very effective forwards as well in Michael Collins and Fred Hegarty as well, and of course the man of the match the last day, Big Tomas O'Connor at full forward, who has been the revelation of the championship. So Evan Morris is going to have his hands full there. So I think there was a huge lesson learned the last day, and I think Clare really celebrated that victory in Simple Stadium. They were on a high after winning, and but now this is it. This is the silverware, Munster Championship silverware, and both teams will be itching to go on Wednesday night in the Gaelic grounds, which I thought was a bit patchy the last day. So hopefully with the good weather for the next, and the bit of growth, that we'll have a good pitch and a great game on Wednesday evening. Yeah,
it is. I can't actually, really am looking forward to it. It's a Munster under-20 final is as good a sporting event as you get in an Irish summer. The minors, I've been very impressed with them as well. James has done a great job with them. It started in swashbuckling style the first night, I think, against Clare, and then we saw their performance against Waterford. Again, anytime questions have been asked that team, they always seem to come up with a goal to kill off any resurgence in the opposition. I think they've got a very mature sense about them, I think.
Yeah, and that's a good word to use, mature for youngsters of 15, 16 and 17. They've had some great battles, some wonderful matches. But by God, the toughest match they got, of course, was that game against Limerick. It went to the wire. Now both teams, regroup again. Common sense has prevailed, to be fair to both county boards. They had a toss. So Tip have won the toss, and the next Munster Championship minor game will be in Limerick. So from that perspective, I think it's with common sense has prevailed. Simple Stadium, it'll be, in pristine condition. They're a good group of players. I mean, James is, you have to admire minor management in any county because they resurrect these players. They keep these players together, and obviously James and his group have resurrected another team to play at top level, and compliments to them. But of course, silverware is at stake again. Yeah. Munster final evening on a Friday evening in Thurles is going to be great to whet the appetite before on Saturday, 24 hours beforehand. I think, it's everybody's dream to play in Simple Stadium in a Munster final, and these young fellas are getting the opportunity. And of course, the Limerick lads are coming down with a very good team, so this is going to be one hell of a game. And I think, at minor level, at under 17 level particularly, anything can happen on a given evening. So hopefully we get a fine evening, and hopefully we get a great game. And
a good crowd indeed, yeah. There's a lot of really good standout performers in that minor team as well. Young Dunn, I think, has been really impressive throughout. Conal Morrissey of my Rovers, I think, has showed really well at centre forward as well. Yeah, and they're very tight at the back. They have had clean sheets, which is a great sign of a team. But Limerick, have been out of the equation. Ronan, it's well documented for the last number of years at underage level, at minor and under 20 level. So this is their great white hope to coming through these group of players. So this is no give me by any means. This is going to be a tough battle, and Wednesday night we'll set out to stall with the 20s, and then we have Friday night and looking forward to a huge weekend, of hurling for the Tipperary public. And just finally, the maths are simple in terms of next Saturday night. You just got to win. You got to go and win your match. You got to go and beat Clare. And Clare's defence has been leaky, but they have some serious scoring forward. So I just think it's intriguing from that point of view. Clare are going to concede quite a bit. And Clare have to win as well. They both do. Teams, jeopardy is huge for both. In a sense, it could be a knockout situation. So, from our perspective, certainly. So, but having said that, both teams are under no illusions that they have to perform on Saturday night. Again, as you mentioned, Clare's forwards have been absolutely flying it. So, I'm sure there'll be systems in place and game plans put together during the week. But certainly, Tip and Clare produce wonderful games, and we just have to lift our game now. Raise our game again like we did last year and see it as a knockout game. And in knockout last year we came good, and I'm confident that we'll come good again this weekend. I hope you're right, Ken. Enjoy the week. It's going to be 3 massive games. Thanks indeed for your time this evening. Anytime, Ronan. God bless. Indeed. Ken Hogan joining us there, and let's just keep the hurling chat going because JJ Kennedy's on the line. JJ, how are you?
Hi, Ronan.
We'll come to the week ahead in due course, but a quick reflection on Waterford Cork. Peter Creeley was very animated about the black cards. We'd spoken about it quite a bit last week. I thought they were both fairly straightforward black cards on Saturday night. Would you disagree?
I would disagree, yes.
Okay.
Second one straightforward. Was it Jack Fagan?
Yeah.
Straightforward rugby tackle pulled down within the scoring range, and an obvious black card penalty. No issue with that one. The first one should not have been a black card. Certainly a penalty. It was a foul. Mark Fitzgerald, dragged Brian Hayes down. Was a foul. The key issue here, and I find it difficult to understand the referees are still getting this wrong. The key issue, it was the same in the John McGrath incident in our game with Waterford. The forward was not in possession of the ball. That's one of the key ingredients of the rule. Now, I know we've criticised the rule, and I'd still criticise it. It just needs to be, amended and tidied up. But if the player, it isn't a black card if the player is not in possession. And in that particular case, Brian Hayes didn't get possession of the ball, so it should not have been a black card. And again, it's a critical decision, and that was a tight game, and it swung, I suppose, on the second penalty. The other thing about the refereeing on the initial one, of course, was that if he had paused the whistle just a second in the follow-up, I think it was Alan Connolly. Put the ball in the net. So if he'd allowed advantage, there would have been a goal. And of course, the penalty then was saved. But well.
Here's an interesting question for you then. If you play that on and a goal is scored, obviously you're not going to award a penalty, but do you go back and award a black card and send somebody off for 10 minutes? Can you do a hybrid version of the black card? Play advantage, but still come back for the black card?
Yeah, I don't think so. It's an interesting question, one that I hadn't thought about. And as I said, in this case, it wouldn't have applied because there wasn't a black card anyway. I think normally a referee allows advantage, or unless the tackle is deemed a dangerous tackle or whatever. If he's allowing advantage and the player goes ahead, or in the play that follows up, there's a score got, they normally don't go back to it to give a card unless the original foul was dangerous or whatever, comes under the category of dangerous use of the hurley or whatever.
It's an interesting question because the black card and penalty is a double punishment.
Yeah.
But if you allowed the play to go on and a goal is scored, you only get the single punishment, if you like, of the goal. Like the 10 minutes of 14 men on 2 occasions killed Waterford.
Yeah.
More so than the goal penalty. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. It's one I hadn't thought about. If you do allow the play to run on and the goal is scored, do you just ignore the black card? And I would assume you do allow you ignore the black card. That's my initial interpretation of it, but I'm open to correction on that, and I'm sure some of the refereeing people will be able to put more clarity on that.
I'll await the texts. Yeah. You could probably have some sympathy with Peter Queally then in relation to the figure he cut when he was giving the interviews post-match. Like he's clearly bitterly disappointed, and it kind of begs the question when you look at the Leinster Championship. Now I know that there was a bit of a surprise that Offaly got a draw, but there is a problem child in the hurling championship at the moment, and that is the Leinster Championship. There was about 6,000 people in Tullamore for Offaly Kilkenny. I think 100 people more than attended Offaly Tip in the league. It's problematic, surely, for the GA.
It is, yeah. I suppose there's two issues there that you just mentioned in your question. The Peter Queally one, first of all, I had huge sympathy for Peter Queally and Waterford at the end of that match yesterday, because they couldn't buy a break, I thought, in the game. You know, the injuries that they got hit with were horrendous. You lost 2 defenders in Kenny and Iarla Daly, and then of course the big one was Stephen Venice to break down as well and have to go off. I mean, those are hammer blows. Those are Bennett particularly, I suppose, is their key player. And to lose those and then get hit with the 2 black cards and the controversy around those, they just couldn't buy a break. And they're really, and in fairness to them, they continued to play away gamely and took that game right to the wire despite all the adversity. So yeah, I would have huge sympathy for them. Your other point, yeah, Leinster is a problem child. There's attendances are down, the quality of the play isn't good. You're not really getting thrilling performances from any of the teams. It's a problem, and it's a problem I don't know how to solve, because I suppose if you're just to look at it in one way, you'd say the solution would be open draw, some sort of open draw for the All-Ireland Championship, but that then means diluting Munster Championship, and of course that's the real prize in the GA at the moment. The Munster Championship is so full of jeopardy and so intense and so unpredictable. And of course, it's a massive money spinner as well. So you're not going to get rid of the Munster Championship. So when that's not happening, I don't really know how you're going to solve the Leinster thing. It's just the quality in a lot of the teams isn't there. And we see
looking at Wexford, my God, imagine if they'd no Lee Chin. They really are, so far off where they were as recently as 2019, where they came within a whisper of beating us in a semi-final and may well have gone on and won an All-Ireland then. Like, they're a long, long way off that. Kilkenny people aren't even going to Kilkenny games anymore, which is really, must be worrying for the Leinster board, Leinster Council. What else do they do in Kilkenny except go to hurling matches? It's just, it's a real problem that I don't think has really been highlighted enough.
Yeah, it is, I suppose. I mean, Wexford, as you mentioned, the 2, Wexford and Kilkenny, are the two biggies, if you like, in Leinster, the traditional powerhouses really in Leinster, and usually great contests between them even when Wexford maybe aren't winning All Irelands or anything like that, they were always able to come up with big ones against Kilkenny, but they didn't do it this year in their match. And Kilkenny themselves, I guess, having a bit of a struggle as well, and only drawing with Offaly is certainly a worrying performance from them. And again, I suppose their underage hasn't been producing in recent times in the way that it did. But these things are probably, there's an element, for Kilkenny at least, and teams like that, there's an element of swings and roundabouts. They go through a phase. They went through an incredible phase there during the teens and that, where, they had a whole conveyor belt of players coming through, and, Brian Cody really had huge riches to deal with. But that's tailed off, and they're struggling a bit, and Wexford have gone backwards. And you look at the rest then, Galway, I suppose Galway are showing, I was going to say they're showing green shoots, but if you looked at them in the first half of that match against Kildare, there were no green shoots visible. It was horrendous stuff from Galway's perspective. They did pull it together, of course, in the second half. And Dublin are still where Dublin have been for some time. They're not
progressing
to the top, but they're still competitive. And that victory over Wexford now will probably mean that they'll get through. You'd imagine it'll be Galway, Kilkenny, Galway, and Dublin would be the favourites now to come through from Leinster. But your original point is valid. It's a bit of a problem. It's a problem area, and the contrast with Munster, of course, is very stark.
Finally, next Saturday, it's do or die, win or bust. I mean, I can't put it any other way, and you'll expect both teams to go at it because there's jeopardy for both sides. Your analysis, I won't try and put words in your mouth.
Yeah, well, it is. It's like old style knockout, isn't it? Whoever loses here is, I think, effectively out. I mean, you can go through all sorts of mathematical possibilities and the rest of it, but whoever loses in this one is in deep trouble. What do you say about it? It has come down to this, and this is where it's at. So Tipperary are going to have to go at it. It's my perception on it is that I'd be wary of some of the views around Clare following their absolute annihilation, if you like, by Limerick in the previous round. I don't think that's a fair reflection of where they're at. And if you're reading too much into that game, you could be in for a surprise. I think they're much better than that. And, given the requirements on Saturday, if they win on Saturday, that's it. They'll go through, and neither ourselves nor Waterford can catch them. Yeah. So that's decided. So it's massive for both teams, and it is do or die. And just looking at the statistics, and the one that popped out at me straight away, of course, is that the last 3 games between the counties at Semple Stadium have been won by Clare, whereas the last 3 games between the counties in Ennis have been won by Tipperary. So much for talk about.
I don't think.
Yeah. It doesn't really count. You'd nearly prefer to be playing this one in Ennis, given the past record or the most recent record. But anyway, I mean, the bottom line is that Tipperary showed signs in the first half against Waterford of getting back to some sort of form that might resemble last year. Didn't fully sustain it. Didn't have to come again in the second half. But there were signs there that they were improving, and they'll have to have built on that again in the 3 weeks since, and come on from that and put in a 70-minute performance on this occasion. I think we have the potential to get scores against them, but I think they also at their end, if their big players click in a way they didn't against Limerick, I'm talking of Shane O'Donnell and Tony Kelly, Mark Rogers, Peter Duggan, these guys, I mean, they have huge potential if they really get moving. So they have potential to damage us there. We have potential at the other end. So it could be a high-scoring one. And if it is, hopefully we outshoot them.
Yeah, and it could be a shootout, absolutely, and in Thurles on Saturday night. I got to go, JJ. Thanks for your time. We'll talk next week.
You're welcome.
Hopefully with lots of silver with Wednesday and Friday and still in championship. Lots to talk about. Thanks indeed, JJ. Good luck. That's JJ Kennedy joining us there. Our text number is 083 311 3311. Martin Gray, ladies football PRO's on the line. Martin, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Really well. Lots to talk about as well in ladies football, because the Munster Championship campaign has come to an end. And if I were to summarise it, Martin, I would say it has proved, if nothing else, just how close Tipperary have gotten to the big guns.
Absolutely. 100%. A lot of progress made last year, and I think a huge step forward this year in particular. And I think it's the impetus that David Powers brought to the camp, where he's united a group of girls, and you can see that in their play. They're up for every fight. You would have said going into this Munster Championship that we were underdogs, and we were. But I think we proved that win against Cork and how close we ran the two Munster finalists in both games has proved we've made huge progress.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like the margins of victory, like the one against Kerry, you kind of think might have been the one that got away, and then you go to Waterford, who were flying, who had already beaten both Cork and Kerry.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what was it, 12-8 was for a finish? But like,
that's it, yeah.
I think we had to. Yeah. I think was Rose Kennedy pulled off a great save was pulled off from her towards the end. So I mean, like, it could well, I suppose what I'm trying to say is that a 4-point margin doesn't really actually reflect how, the difference between those two teams.
It was a much closer game than the 4-point margin. And I think they really went at what. I mean, Waterford went into this as singing favourites. Without a shadow of a doubt, they gave Cork a serious gun over the week before, and they certainly caught Kerry. They are the coming team, Waterford. I've said it a weeks ago that they won't be far off the Brendan Maher Trophy this year, I think myself. But to go and get the result, I'd say it's the result. We were unlucky not to be a lot closer than we were. Waterford are a very accomplished team, but the depth of our progress has been shown in the result yesterday, even though it didn't go our way.
I know, yeah.
And I know I'd be very disappointed. But the fact that we ran him so close and we gave him a game like the same game last year was a complete opposite. So, we had the progress is there, and you can see the steps in the progress, and it really is going to give him a good step going into the All-Ireland series.
That was my next question. Like, there's confidence has come from the Munster campaign. It has to translate into an All-Ireland campaign. When is that going to get underway, and what kind of a draw have we got, or has it even been made yet?
It has been made. I'm sorry, I'm off the top of my head. I haven't got it, but I know that we're in a group of another group of 3 for the All-Ireland series. I haven't got my notes in front of me.
No, it's okay.
There's so much going on with it.
Yeah, there is.
Ladies football at this point in time. We've just finished our under-21 league finals. We have our adult league finals next week. We have under-14 league finals as well as inter-county campaigns.
Your senior Bs were down in Castle Island on Saturday.
And we had the senior Bs in Castle Island on Saturday. We have the senior Bs out again this Saturday. So there's an awful lot going on within Tipperary football, apart from the senior team. Not that we're accolades our senior team; they've done serious work and serious preparation. But the senior Bs are definitely worth a mention, because this is something that David Power has pushed for, to make sure we get over the line. We've kind of fluffered with it for the last number of years, but the senior B is what he's using. He's calling his development squad, and it's a very, very important tool for any inter-county team to have the second group of girls playing competitive football.
Yeah, and not just train. You're absolutely right. Like going down to
competition.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It might be something we return to some evening. We have more time, Martin, but there's been great progress made, and it's worth noting.
Huge. We're absolutely delighted. We're over the moon with it.
Yeah.
The results may not have gone our way, but we're really confident that the progress is made. It's good. It's good, solid foundations.
I agree.
And
this is all expensive though as well. I just wonder whether how this gets funded, because you probably don't have the fundraising capabilities of sort of senior men, so let's be blunt about that. So
absolutely, yeah, no, we're it's so easy to say we're 4th rung on the ladder when it comes to sport in Tipperary, and we're very, very, very lucky. We have a very good backing in Comida.
Yeah,
I can't give them a big enough shout out. They have really backed us all these years, and more so this year. They've upped their input into Tipperary's football. We've also got on board some really good new sponsors as well, like Tipperary Water, John Kennedy Motors, and MMTS Property Services for our senior team, as well as all their underage teams. And in the background, there's a huge amount of work going on in the background. I'm working on new sponsors. they really need. They put in the same effort as the men's senior team.
Oh, they do.
It's just a shame not to get the same support that they really deserve. Because it's not from a want of trying, but because the effort is certainly there.
I'm well aware, and thank you indeed for saying that, Martin. I got to fly, but thanks. We'll talk soon.
Thanks. No problem at all. Thanks, William.
Martin Gray, ladies football, and let's talk to Barry Ryan. How are you, Barry?
How are you, Ronan?
What a weekend of football. The FAI Junior Cup, I'm going to start with Peak Villa. They were 2-0 down to get it back to 2-2, but ultimately come away from Ronanstown without a win.
Yeah, look, that'll be a really disappointing one for the lads in terms of Ronanstown were only formed in 2023, so probably didn't know a whole pile about them. I know Derek went up to watch them. They're probably a little bit of an unknown. Teams kind of can come up overnight in Dublin and they're such a big pick and stuff like that. They were very aware of Jake Walker. He played League of Ireland with St. Pat's and Bray Wanderers, and ultimately he was the man that did all the damage. He scored all 4 goals. Look, I think people will be really disappointed with it, though. It's a lot I think if you go away from home in the FAI, the first thing to do is keep a clean sheet, keep it really, really tight, and that's always been the mantra. And I think when you concede 4, you're not going to be in the hat for the next round.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. But they been 2-0 down away from home and getting it back to 2-2, you would think the momentum was with Peak.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and credit to Pippi Carroll. He got both goals. He's really been a talisman for them over the last couple of years, and particularly in recent weeks. And yeah, you get back to 2-2, and it's probably one of the. I just think the thing about Peak Villa is the way they play is the way they play. They go and they're on the front foot and they look to attack all the time. And it's probably much harder to win an FBI or a Munster playing that way. Down through the years, St. Michael's have always been a team that could go anywhere on the road and keep a clean sheet. And Carrick United were the exact same, and that gives you a big chance in the open competitions. But I suppose when you're a very open and honest and front foot team and play a lot of football, you can be on the receiving end of a 4-3 or on the right end of a 4-3. And they also exited the Munster Junior Cup 4-3 to St. Geraldines in Limerick as well. So they play. It's brilliant to watch, but it's hard to win the big competitions playing that style of football.
And then you've St. Michael's, who went to Knocknaheeny and came away with a 5-0 win and hitting form. That's 6-0, 5-0, 3-0 and 5-0 in their last 4 games. The emphasis on the nil. And a lot of people there will focus on all the goals, but the one thing that'll jump out at me is the nil. Yeah. It's back to defend. They went to Knocknaheeny, which anyone who knows Cork, it's on the north side. It's a really difficult venue, tough place to go. They played in Grattan United's pitch. It was like a car park. But the mantra in that dressing room, it's amazing. A lot of the players have changed and stuff, but obviously there's still the Jimmy Carrs, the David Clatterys, Colin Bargeries, the Johnny Cremenses, and the message would have been really, really simple. Give nothing away, and then take our chances when they come. And look, we've seen them do that over and over again. And look, yeah, they're hitting form. They've got momentum now as we head into a really, really big period. And Wednesday the 20th, there'll be a showdown in Thurles for the league title. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. But they have another game next weekend, isn't it, in the FAI Senior? Yeah, they play Janesborough in the FAI Senior. And look, it's one of those. I suppose it's an opportunity at getting into the hat for a tie against the big guns when the Senior League of Ireland teams, the Bohemians, the Shamrock Rovers, St. Pat's, all come into the mix in the following round. But it'll be played during your off-season, and it's that eternal question then. It's a glamour. In some ways, it's almost like a glamour friendly. Is it a great part of the pre-season, or is it a nuisance the week before Peak Villa? I don't know. It's whatever way you look at it. But do I think they'll rest a couple of bodies for the Peak Villa game on the Wednesday? I think they will. So you've got Fairview then in the next round of the FAI. I mean, these are massive games coming thick and fast. You've got a league decider. You've got Munster's FAI Senior Cup, and then the 5th round of the FAI Junior Cup. Yeah, I have to say, Ronan, I'm absolutely flabbergasted by the fixtures in terms of the TSDL. We've only one remaining club in the FAI Junior Cup, and they are going to play Peak Villa in an unbelievable clash on Wednesday. There's absolutely zero possibility on Saturday night of St. Michael's going out and competing against Fairview Rangers on Saturday. I haven't played that game on Wednesday. Absolutely none. In their full of their health, with everybody available and a week's rest, that would have been a humdinger against Fairview. Fairview would have been strong favourites, but you forget about it now. We'll have nobody left in the FAI after Wednesday night, after they play that league game. That league game is going to take everything out of Peak Villa and everything out of St. Michael's, and St. Michael's are going to go out 72 hours later
to play the best team in the country. It's not for me. You do everything to give you look at professional football now, and all the fixtures in the Premier League have been moved around.
Paris Saint-Germain.
Palace a chance in Europe. Paris Saint-Germain done the same.
Yeah.
And these are professional players that can go after the game, be in ice baths and go in for massages and all this treatment.
But they still facilitate them.
72 hours later to go out and play after. It's just in the only remaining Tipperary team left in the FAI Junior Cup. So I'm just baffled by it, and we have weeks and weeks left to play football.
I'm going to ask you about, very quickly, Bancha are still in the hunt for the Division 1 title.
Bancha are still in the hunt for Division 1 title. 4-0 against Tipperary Town. They're going to take it to a playoff, and they have a Tipperary Cup final coming Friday 2 weeks against Big Villa as well. So what an end to the season for Bancha. Yeah,
it's fascinating, and Wilderness are still having to sit and wait and perhaps keep training on.
Yeah, I suppose it's one of those, like you're sitting idle and stuff like that, but I suppose when they finished up their last game of the season and the opportunity, they thought maybe they'd let it go. They probably would have been willing to, if we have to take a couple of weeks off, give us one more bite at it.
Yeah, it's you know what, there's a lot to talk about. We'll try and fit some of it in next week with all the hurling that's going on as well. It's really good time, really good times. Thanks Brilliant. Indeed for Barry.
Thanks, Ronan.
Take care. That's Barry Ryan with news of the TSDL. That's all we've time for, folks, I'm afraid. Ian O'Connor produced. It's a bumper week ahead of hurling on Tip FM. We hope you enjoy it. We'll be back to you next week. Good night. And good luck.
At 8, good evening, I'm Tina Gates. 2 Irish passengers from the hantavirus cruise ship have spent their first day in quarantine at a HSE-run facility. They arrived home last